All right, Heather. A through Z.
We will go with R.
I ain't got shit this week. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. What were you talking about, Jastin, when we talked about this? Who was it the best way?
Sika.
Oh, yes. Roman Reigns' father.
Roman Reigns' father.
Well, there you go, Heather. You picked a good one. I just didn't remember.
I don't want to butcher his last name, but Sika Anoi. I think that's how you say that. Anoi. It's kind of a... But yeah, passed away. Roman Reigns' dad. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. Died at age 79. That was just the main newsworthy thing I saw here recently. So, there was people doing tributes and stuff like that, wrestlers showing pictures they took with him and saying, rest in peace and all that good stuff. So, yeah, that was going around a little bit in the world of wrestling and whatnot.
Yeah. I was really surprised by his age. Like, I guess because Roman's in his 40s, isn't he? At least late 30s. He's in his late 30s, at least.
I think late 30s.
Yeah, late 30s. I don't know. That just surprised me. His dad's that old. But
39.
There we go. As close to being in your late 30s without being a 40 as you can be. Ugh, that puts it in rough perspective. That man's literally my age. Disgusting. I hope he feels good about making me feel bad about myself.
Damn.
And then one thing I saw, and I don't remember if we talked about this last week or not, but Jordan Peele's next movie has a release date. Nothing else, but does have a release date, 10/23/26.
Okay.
So, no name, no casting, no nothing. Yeah, it's just nice.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I'm already invested. You said 26, 10/23/26. That's a bummer, but fair. He's got to make something good, so he's going to make us wait for it.
I don't know. Is that it? No, that's it. I don't know what else. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It's a slow news.
Excited to get to tarot. That's all. Excited to get to the film.
Started the damn intro. You ruined my seamless transition.
Nobody knows anything but you.
Just want to express your excitement for the film.
Cinema Slayers.
I had 300 plus episodes of seamless transitions, and you guys just went and ruined it.
It's that kind of night, Sterling. We're reviewing. It's that kind of night.
You just went so quick with it. Like, I think I was like mid-word, and then I just heard it, and I was like,
I had hit that button before you started talking.
Yeah, normally there's a heads up or like, Kuba the Ka. Normally you do something before you do it. You haven't done Kuba the Ka, but I mean, you know what I mean.
I resigned to the fact that I had no idea what was going on. As in, let's just get this fucking over with.
this is for you, Cinefans.
No.
You got to savor the meal, Sterling. You can't just wolf it up. You don't enjoy it that way. You got to savor it. You got to take slow bites and chews and savor your meal here.
This episode is like going to Furs 5 minutes before it fucking closes.
Damn. Damn.
This is like trying to eat at Golden Corral at the end of the day. You're just getting leftover bullshit.
That's
Fair.
not wrong.
Fair.
I mean,
I can't. I bet those rolls aren't even fresh, and that's a damn shame because the Brass Bakery rolls are some rolls.
dude, that is the only thing at this moment. If you went, hey, I'm like, if somebody's like, I'm going to bring Golden Corral, you'd be like, ew. And they're like, but I meant the rolls. You'd be like, okay.
Mm-hmm. You'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Where are those?
That's the only thing that franchise offers that's good is rolls. And I guess, don't they do like a serve your own froyo? I don't remember.
I believe so.
It's been so long since I went there. I don't remember their dessert options.
Me too. Like, why would I ever be in that place? But yes, I get. But no, they had that. There were just a few items, but man, when they introduced that Brass Bakery and the fresh rolls, the fresh brownies, the soft cookies they used to make, man, that Brass Bakery was the shit. That's all. I just remember going and being like, I'm here for the desserts and the rolls. I mean, that's what I was there for. The food was whatever, but it was that dessert that I knew was, and then the ice cream. They had different, M&Ms and sprinkles and stuff, so you could do up your ice cream. That was the Golden Corral. That was the best thing about it. Was the Brass Bakery and the desserts. That's it.
I don't even remember all that shit. I just remember the rolls. Now, I haven't even had a Golden Corral roll in, honestly, 12 years. And that might be on the short side. It could be 17. I don't know. I legitimately can't tell you the last time I went to a fucking Golden Corral. But I'd still eat those rolls. I just remember those always being good. Unlike this movie. Hello, Cinefans. And welcome to this very special episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm joined by Heather and that rat bastard, Jastin. And we're going to talk about what we didn't like with the movie Tarot. Some people may go spoiler free. Some people may even give a recommendation and score. But we will all go into spoilers. Into a more spoiler-centric section, I should say. The time codes in the description to allow you to jump around in both audio and video formats if you so require. And with that, the reason for the season. The asshole that put this movie on a list and had us spin a wheel with this on a list. And then who tried to conveniently not be available when we were originally going to record it. But we saved it. Because this is the second annual Jastin is a Bastard episode. You might remember in the year 2023 when we did an episode about a movie called Pray for the Devil. That was our first annual Jastin's a Bastard. And this movie is the 2024 edition of Jastin is a Bastard. Because we're talking about Tarot. So, Jastin, what are your spoiler-free thoughts about this movie, asshole?
Wow. Did you have to start that intro like we were at a funeral? I mean, you
Yeah.
just said it.
Yeah, part of my fucking soul died watching this movie. The fuck do you mean? Do we have to start it like it's a fucking funeral? Yes.
I mean, you did that.
A funeral would have been more fucking exciting than this movie. You know, like,
why are you probably right about that?
You know how in a funeral, like, especially with somebody you're really close to, it's like equal parts like sad and sometimes cathartic. Like when you're reminiscing with other people and you get to like have those happy memories and just to tell the stories and hear other people's memories. And it can be somewhat cathartically healing about things, but you can still be sad while happy. Yeah, this isn't that.
You weren't sad while happy watching it?
Nah.
No.
No, I was just miserable. Just straight up miserable the whole time. But this isn't my time, Jastin. It's yours. Why are you asking me questions?
And I can't believe I've accidentally started an annual thing where I just pick a terrible film, a terrible scary movie.
It's not even a terrible movie. It's one of the worst. It's not even just, it's bad. It's arguably, I don't know what the fuck we can watch this year that would be worse than this.
Come on, Sterling. You liked things in it, I'm
Nope.
sure. We'll get to you momentarily, but.
All right. If you think so.
I'm pretty sure you did. I'm pretty sure you liked something in
Worse
here.
than Madam Web? That's the question.
Yes, this movie is fucking worse than Madam Web. Miraculously, both of these movies were made by Sony.
They did have somebody in a Spider-Man movie that was good, and he was terrible in this. They did have that. Man, I mean, I'm just start off light, and then I'm going to hit it heavy in the spoiler section. But honestly, like, the problem with this is that it just, none of it feels like it was made with any ounce of ambition or care to try to do anything beyond just 100 things we've seen 1,000,000 times already. Like, I think, man, we may have to start doing Cinema Slayer predictions where we just predict what the movie will be about. And I think we could have probably predicted exactly what this plot is. There's a problem with these tarot cards, and we have to find some old person who knows exactly what's wrong with everything. And then they can tell us what the problem is, and then we solve the problem. Like, it's just what you've seen 1,000,000 times before. And it sucks because the characters on these tarot cards, the people that they come up with, like some of these, like the clown, and what was it, the mistress, headmaster mistress, or what was her name?
So are you talking about the priestess?
The priestess, yes.
And the clown was the fool.
The fool, that's right. Sorry that I don't remember them, but I don't think this deserved me remembering them. But
you'll find out why I remember them in a little bit.
But some of the designs of those characters, minions, tarot cards were interesting. You know, there were some interesting looking. They were interesting looking. And then we just did absolutely nothing with them, except we just kept doing the same thing. Apparently, even though they're all unique, they all do the same thing. They walk around, they yell, they scare, and they kill. And that's it. And I wish I could say that some of the deaths were cool, but were they? Like there might have been one that was cool. And it's at the very beginning. So then it's all downhill from there.
Oh, I disagree, Jastin. The one death I kind of liked towards the end.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm forgetting one. I'm trying to. What happened at the end? Well, I'll let you talk about it, even if I.
Who gives a fuck, really, Jastin? No, the Saw death.
Okay.
I thought that one was interesting.
Okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I'll give you that. That was pretty cool. And the one I'm talking about is the ladder.
See,
if that wasn't clear.
I hate that one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we'll get into why. But yeah.
Man, I like the train one. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, there you go. Well, see, maybe. Uh-oh. We got 3 different perspectives on this.
No, it's not that serious. But I don't really
so that must mean this is a great film. But I wouldn't say that I liked any of the logistics of it, but I don't know. Being killed by a ladder is kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. Just haven't quite seen that. So I guess I was like, okay, that was kind of fun. If they had showed more of it, it would have probably been nice. If we had some gore here, maybe I would have halfway been entertained with this, but it's just not. And then when you get to the characters, I mean, there are people in here that I like I kind of loosely mentioned Jacob Batalon, who plays, he's Ned in the Spider-Man Homecoming movies, and he's really good in those. I love Ned in those movies. But this person, Paxton, who he plays, is just it's just insufferable. And then it's just like, and then what they do with this character, what ultimately happens with this character is just so mind-bogglingly stupid. It's just, it was so dumb. And this is definitely one of those movies
that have you ever felt as insulted as this movie did with that?
Yeah.
Honestly, though.
This movie straight up at the end just goes, hey, you just spent an hour and 26 watching this movie. Fuck you.
Exactly. Just in your face, just, gave you the middle finger and just, put it up against your nose and just like twisted it. You know what I mean? Just super disrespectful. And then just flung it off. You know what I mean? After twisting, they kind of do that little fling off thing off your face. That's what it felt like this movie did with that. That was just so terrible. And kind of like Madam Web, the characters in this, they're cue card characters. Again, in that way where they establish what each person's personality is really quickly. And that person proceeds to say things that just fall perfectly in that personality with no surprises. The ass is the asshole.
Nailed it.
The person that's iffy is the person that's iffy. And the person who questions things is the person who questions things. The person who the main character, the one who figures things out, is the one figuring all the shit out. It's just like so predictable. It's so like it's not good. And it's not even like one of those movies where like, well, it doesn't really take itself seriously, so it's just trying to make you laugh. I feel like there are times where it really does take itself seriously with the plot and everything. And it tries to have this lesson about fate and making your own destiny and stuff like that. And for them to have the audacity to try to just last minute throw that in, like, look, we did something meaningful here, is just really sad. And it just, was
but did
really
they?
bad. So
Like that's
yeah,
the
this
problem
is like
with
one
it.
of those movies that totally deserves the bad reviews, the bad press, the bad everything that you heard about this movie. It lives up to all of it in just about every single way. So yeah, it was super disappointing. It's just one of those that will be forgotten about quickly. I mean, shoot, I've already forgotten about parts of it. So hopefully I can recollect something during the spoilers. But yeah, it was pretty bad. It was terrible. And yep, I picked this. Well, no, I didn't pick it, but I willed this into existence. So and I'm kind of upset that I did that. I feel like I need to atone for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go on some sort of quest or maybe lose a finger or something. I don't know. Like it was a John Wick that got his finger cut off. I don't know. Maybe I need to like atone for this probably. I just feel dirty, feel icky, feel like I committed something against man and I need to rectify this somehow. Anyway, somebody else can go.
I'll go next. For my section, I'm just going to talk about the fact of why I remember some of these things, Jastin. Because since we had to wait to record this episode, my ass had to watch it a second time. And I watched it today. That's why my memory is so fresh and so clean with this. Is I had to watch it for a second time. Because like you said, I did not remember this fucking movie. So I had to watch it again. And that's why I do remember these things. And it's why I'm just a little bit extra sour with you today, Jastin. I had to watch it a second time.
Well, I'm sure that second time you felt something significant, I'm sure.
Total transparency, I fell asleep for a big chunk of it. But to be perfectly honest, fell asleep for a big chunk. But it helped me remember enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it got me back on it. Like, one thing I'll bring up, not a spoiler. I just thought it was a very interesting choice this movie did. This movie starts and you go like 20 minutes and then you get the intro. That threw me off twice. Because I watched this movie twice. Like, it just starts going. And you're just like, okay, you know, like movie. Like, you end up forgetting that you haven't seen the title sequence for this movie. And it goes like 20 minutes, and then it goes, oh yeah, this is tarot. And you're like, oh yeah, they didn't do that.
Yeah, it kind of takes you out for a quick second. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I forgot it did that. And I had the exact same thought process again today while watching it. Like, it's just going. And I'm like, all right, it's going, whatever. Tarot. And I'm like, oh, shit. Title sequence. Forgot about that again. It's just weird. But it also makes perfect sense for this movie. Because they just don't do anything right. Like, so why would you put the title sequence at the beginning of the movie? You don't do anything else right. Might as well. Because it's not even a cold open. And it's not even really a title sequence. It just da-da-da-da-da. And then for like 30 frames, it just goes tarot. And then like, what the fuck is it? It makes no sense. There is no reason why. It doesn't even lull you into like something. It doesn't like meld into something. The movie just happens and it goes tarot. Okay. It's like it's afraid that if it tells you the name of the movie too soon, you're going to forget the name of the movie you're watching. Like it wants to put its hooks in you before it tells you the name of the movie. So you'll remember it? I don't know. But it is also the perfect summation of what this movie is. A bunch of bad decisions and nonsense. Heather, what about you?
I mean, yeah, I also had that thing when I watched it and I was like, oh, why did they do this tarot intro like 3 hours later? I just didn't understand that either. It's not good. It's not a good movie. It's just like, I was very distracted by the really bad dialogue, and the really bad like line deliveries throughout like the entirety of this movie. And like I'm very disappointed because I'm with you, Jastin. Ned let me down. He let me down bad here. Cause like insufferable is a great word. Like he is so unbelievably extra in everything that he says in this movie that I cannot take anything he says seriously at all. And I know he's supposed to be like the funny one or whatever, but it was way too over the top. Way too over the top. Well, like he's a walking exclamation point with every single thing he says. And it was ridiculous.
I have a question about that. Do you think it's because he is the only one that is acting like they're not a piece of paper? I'm not saying that he's even acting like a person, because he's not. No one in this movie is a human being.
It felt like overacting because nobody else was on that level. I get that.
I think he was just doing bare minimum. And it was just more than anyone else brought to the table.
And it's also because with the whole idea of this like movie taking itself too seriously, I think all the characters except for him were also doing that. So that's a fair point. I would say that's fair to say. I
don't know if I would say that though, because I don't think anyone brought anything. Like you know how like there's white bread? Like, and I'm not trying to say that somebody's like a multi-grain or like a cinnamon swirl or anything. Ned is essentially he's just wheat bread. That's all. He's just regular ass wheat bread. I'm not even with any grains on it. You know how sometimes you get the wheat bread with the grains on the crust? No, not even that. This is just plain ass wheat bread. And everyone else is white bread that you put at the bottom of the bag and you put all your cans on top of it. So it's just squished ass white bread.
Yeah, he definitely was a different tone than anybody else in this movie. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, and the thing is, that's another disadvantage of this film. I know the lead is supposed to be, you know, the girl who read the cards. I cared so very little about anything going on with her. And like there was something that didn't have that like leading lady take charge thing in this movie for me. I did not care about her like at all. I mean, I didn't care about any of these characters, but I didn't like the things that she was saying. Nothing resonated with me about her. You know, she was just like, let me just tell you off the top of my head everything I know about tarot. And like, just, that was kind of that. You're right. That was like her one character trait. She's like, I'm figuring it out because I'm the main character and I know what tarot cards are. That's her one thing. That's the only thing she has. And so every piece of dialogue she has is written around that. Like, and that's for most of the people here. I will say maybe not a popular opinion, but Avantika, the one who played Paige, that was the one in Mean Girls, she actually was probably the character I liked the most. And I think it's because her acting was more believable than anybody else's, if I'm being honest, just from my perspective. I also liked the girl, Madeline, the girl that played Madeline. I thought she was pretty decent too. Like, those are the only two that I was like, maybe.
Heather, can you tell me who those characters are based on how they died? Because I don't remember any names.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know it's kind of spoilers, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, who the fuck?
Paige is the saw.
Okay. Yeah, I like that one.
And Madeline is the hang.
Gotcha.
The hanging.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are the only two for me that I was just like, they have, like, they're at least doing a form of acting, like, more than the others, which is crazy because the main girl, like, I'm not even saying she wasn't acting, but I didn't like anything she was doing with her acting. Like, I feel like at least the girl who played Paige, I feel like she at least brought a form of emotion, like when she needed to. She seemed scared when she actually needed to be scared. She seemed sad when she should have been sad. And everybody else was doing nothing during those moments. So I think for me, that's why I felt like she was probably the better performance in this movie. Even our seasoned old lady that we get in this movie was given nothing. Like she was like, let me just tell you a long drawn out story because you really need to hurry along before you die. Like, I don't know why that was the choice they made. But yeah, she's like, I know you're all really, scared to death, but let me just draw out this story for you. I don't know. But yeah, she wasn't giving me anything. Like, no, you're right. Nobody was giving anything. And that's why Ned, even, I think maybe you're right. Maybe what I said about Ned, whatever his name was in this, Paxton, maybe it's because he was actually putting some effort in, but I just feel like the effort he was putting was not the tone that I wanted for this movie. I don't know. Something just didn't fit. And you're right, because he is so great in those Spider-Man movies. Like, he's that great sidekick, buddy, friend. He's good. You know what I mean? Like, he's funny. He actually, like, his wit is on. He's very good. In this, and I that's why I blame the script. The script gives you nothing to go with, and that's why he had to overdo everything, probably. But yeah, it just really bugged me because I just wasn't enjoying this. Like, this kind of suffers that same problem of a few other movies we've talked about of it doesn't really have any tension. It doesn't really have any like tension build up in it, and it really thinks it does, and it is interesting because, like, you're right. There's not a whole lot of creativity to these deaths for the most part. I probably agree with you, Sterling. I think the Saw one is the most creative, but I think the one that I liked the most was the train one. Just because I felt like it took a lot of creative choices and like it was confusing on purpose until it gets to the actual death part. And then you're like, oh, yep, that's what was happening. Like, I don't know. I just kind of liked that one better than some of the others. And it was a little bit more quick. I feel like it was a more quick death, just more abrupt. But yeah, I don't know. It just, it doesn't give you anything. And so it falls under that category of a movie that's so bad, you do notice every little thing because it's the only thing that you can focus on to get through the movie because it's giving you nothing else. And the sad thing is it had potential. You're right. Like it's one of those where you've seen this movie or elements of this movie a million times in other things. But the idea and the concept of what this movie was, it actually could have been done in a really good way if there was smart writing with it, but it doesn't really have that. So I don't know. Everything was just very, like just things on a page happening, like it felt like forced dialogue. It felt like dialogue people wouldn't actually say, especially if you're like a tight group of friends. And that's the problem because they really thought they nailed that casual dialogue thing between the friends. And it was bad. It was really bad. None of it was good. So yeah, I, and obviously it's one of those where what these deaths are technically going to be. Like they do it in interesting ways, but how they're going to die. So it's not like, oh, is it here? Is it going to be at this point? Like, when certain things are happening, like, yeah, this is about to be when they die. So there's no element of surprise really to what's going to happen with these deaths. Definitely some huge issues with the plot, and like, all I'm saying is, yeah, like kind of what Sterling alluded to, what they do with good old Paxton in this movie drives me absolutely insane. Pretty much the entire, last 20 minutes of this movie drives me completely insane. It's a rough watch. It's rough. So, yeah.
I'm not even asking.
Recommendations and score.
This is where we're at. Yep.
I'm done. Heather, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a no for me. I'm just not. There's not even like well, maybe if this and this and this. I don't think any even casual horror fans. I just don't. I like a lot of B-rated horror movies, and I've seen a lot of B-rated horror movies, and this is just not going to be anywhere on my list of things that I recommend for someone to watch if they want a good, or just like a laughably bad, like scary movie. It's just, there's nothing to really recommend about it. So no recommendation from me. Because there were a few elements that I didn't hate, such as, like a couple of creative moments of the death and like the way that some of these little demons look. Low key, some of the song choices they do in certain moments was kind of cool, to be honest. And, so for that, I will give it, what am I going to give it? I'm going to give it like, 8 tarot card readings out of 100.
Jastin, what about you?
I was trying to think, like, what kind of person could I recommend this to?
No.
I think if you are a person
who hates yourself,
who more or less hates cinema, like you hate the existence of movies, like you hate that they exist, you hate that people watch them, you hate the time that they consume, you hate the money that is spent on them because you feel like it could be used for bigger and better, more productive things. If you hate movies, you probably would like this, because this is the kind of movie that helps argue your case that they shouldn't exist. I mean, that might be the only person I can recommend this to. That specific person, this will help his argument and his case. Like, that this is one that he could present in court and be like, look, judge, do we really need cinema? Do we really need movies when stuff like this is being made? That person would probably appreciate this. But honestly, like, there's a million other horror movies that you could watch. Some that came out this year, some that are yet to come out that you could watch and just have a more enjoyable time. So why would I want anybody to spend their time watching something where clearly the people who made this didn't spend much time? Like, you talked up and down, Heather, about the dialogue, and I think it's dawning on me that the dialogue felt like that aspect of the script was written by somebody who thinks they understand young people. Like, they think they know what a funny young person is. They think this is the way they talk when they're in love or going through kind of a breakup or things like that. They think this is how they talk when they know something and is trying to relay information to other people. It just felt like somebody who didn't do any research, didn't consult anybody. They just sort of took their own opinions, out of touch opinions, and just said, okay, these are the characters that we have. Or because every character just had a specific thing, a specific thought, a specific idea that they were going to represent, like our main protagonist. I know things. I know about the cards. I know a little bit about this. So because I know, care about me, because I'm helpful to everybody else. So care about me because I know. Because that's how every character was crafted. They weren't crafted with layers or things for us to find relatable or things to care about or anything like that. It wasn't crafted that way. So that's why we don't care. And that kind of is a microcosm for the movie, because everything was just crafted to get a scene. So you get scenes, but we don't have a story, guys. We don't have a real message or point. We don't have a real narrative. We just have scenes, a collection of scenes. This scene has to do this in order for us to get to the next one. And that's really essentially what this is. It's just a collection of scenes that poses itself as a scary movie. And it has a couple of jump scares, some creepy characters, a bunch of people getting picked off. And like you said, in a very predictable way. That was great what you said, Heather. It tells you from right at the beginning, it gives you how everybody is, and everybody is probably going to die. And then it proceeds to do that with no surprises until the end. And yeah, we'll talk about that surprise.
It's almost like it wanted to do a Final Destination thing, but not in a good way. Because even with Final Destination, like technically they're showing signs of how they're going to die, but it's still done in a way that kind of shocks you. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So it's like they did that without the actual like shock effect of it.
Exactly. Like, at least it was a fun adventure on how those people were going to die in Final Destination. Maybe you saw a little bit of it. You saw a little bit of the visions, but the adventure was okay, but how does it occur? And it was so fun and interesting how those deaths would occur in Final Destination. Here, you think you might get that. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's see how this death plays out. But none of it was fun or adventurous or anything other than the most you might have got out of one was like our reactions. All right, that was kind of cool. Or you're just not reacting at all. That's it. You know, that's the most it got out of any of us. So yeah, I just don't see anybody enjoying this. I just think that you would be mad that you watched it when you could have been watching something way better. And we're not here to fool people. We're not here to deceive. We don't want you to watch bad movies. We don't want you to waste your time. So we got to be honest about this one and tell you what's what. So nah, you don't need to watch it. Just avoid it. When it streams, avoid that too. Don't accidentally click on it. If you do, wash your hands. You know, it's really that kind of thing with this one.
Don't put it on a wheel to spin. Don't do that either.
Yeah, please don't. Yeah, that's what I did. That was a mistake I made. And now I have to find out how I can rectify that. I'll have to climb some mountain and talk to some man about what I must do to rectify that. But yeah. So yeah, just don't. We'll give it 4 priestess priesting you with the ladder out of 100.
That makes the official Cinescore for this movie a 4. Spoilers?
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spoilers.
Have you ever seen a movie that needed to be rated R as bad as this movie? Oh, God. This movie needed to be rated R. Needed. Desperately so. Like, there are movies I've watched and I was like, that it would have been better if it was rated R. No. The only way this movie would have stood a chance is if it was rated R. Because that's why I did not like that ladder death, Jastin, is that should have been visceral.
Yeah. And just with all that blood and just imagine body parts shooting up as the ladder just collided that could have been pretty glorious.
You should have heard the squishing of the ladder, and the blood would have been splashing and just coughing blood and just like doing that whole thing where like bubbles of blood are coming out because it's mixing with the oxygen in her lungs and all that. She could have fucking used that so bad. But also a weird thing, and I noticed this the second time around. I don't know if I've ever seen a horror movie that all the characters would have lived if they had actually just been having sex. Because homegirl at the beginning, when she dies, if she had actually just gone to stay with her girlfriend that night, instead of going to this random house to live by herself, if she'd just gone to her girlfriend's to fuck, she would have lived. Homeboy that gets hit by the train, if he had just stayed there and fucked her, he'd be alive. Like, everyone in this movie would have lived if they were just fucking. Like, why are you having a drunken party out in the woods and you have time to do tarot readings? You're teenagers in the woods. You should be fucking like every other horror movie, and you'd all be alive. You wouldn't have time to be doing tarot cards because you should be doing drugs, drinking, and fucking like every other college kid in a horror movie ever. You should have been doing all that shit all alive. Not a single person be dead. But I mean, the reason why I give the Saw death credit is I just liked the setup of it, of like the magician kind of stalking her around, and then all of a sudden she's in the Saw box and he's like performing to an audience. That's why I kind of gave that as the interesting death to me. Is it like,
that was cool.
It was those aspects of it that kind of did it. The Saw death, no, that kind of like the sawing itself, whatever. It's a PG-13 movie. She's getting sawed in half in a PG-13 movie. Oh, that's so violent. That's whatever. But like the setup of it all, I thought was a little bit more interesting. I liked that aspect of it. Yeah, this movie wanted to be this generation's 13 Ghosts. It wanted to have these characters, these ghosts or demons or whatever the fuck you want to call them. It wanted to have a bunch of unique versions of that, killing people and all of those things, except it also forgot why that works in 13 Ghosts. 13 Ghosts is a bad movie. It's a bad movie. But I watch it. I have fun watching it. And it does have a cult-like status. And it's because there's a story behind these ghosts. There's a reason why they make up, no pun intended, the Black Zodiac. Like, there's a story behind the ghost. There's a uniqueness to the ghost. There's you get some of the information, you don't get some of the information. There's a lot of interesting stuff to it. Whereas this movie, you just get it for a little bit and it's gone forever. But why? Like, it would have been, find a way to fucking have them stay. You know, all these other things, like, you're wasting these unique designs for these tarot monster fuck things. You're wasting it because they come and go. And you miss why people liked that aspect of it in 13 Ghosts. This movie's nothing. It's not violent. It's not sexy. It's not scary. There's no tension. So all the elements that kind of make for a good horror movie, especially a demon slasher murder fuckfest or whatever the fuck you want to call a movie like this, it has none of it. None. So what were they trying to do? Like, dude, like I said, the easiest way would have been rated R. You up the violence of the ladder death. Man, think about the train death. Instead of him just falling in front of the train, have him kind of fall out and he's just getting scraped against the side of the train. Like, just slowly getting fucking, like, Mortal Kombated. Like, just on the train, like against the train and shit. Like, he ends up falling and getting stuck between the two trains. So he's just bouncing around, becoming mincemeat, smearing blood down the side of the train. Like, one thing too, that the girl that gets hung, like, her head would have snapped off. Like, there is a science to hangings. Like, if they fall too far of a distance, their head pops off. They fall too short of a distance, their neck doesn't break, and they actually suffocate to death, which is not the point of a hanging. I know a lot of people thinking hanging is to, like, no. The point of a hanging is to break your neck. And so they'd be fucking hanging there and suffocating for minutes and minutes and minutes, slowly dying. Nobody actually wants to watch that. They just want to watch it. Click, done. Her head would have popped off. So cool. Make it rated R and have her head fucking pop off. You get to the saw death. Just blood and viscera everywhere. Like, have little bits of the intestine coming back on the fucking thing, and blood's just all over the crowd and all over the stage. And it's just a woman just got sawn in half. You know? That's everybody that dies, right? Yeah. Or then the old lady. How'd the fucking old lady die? I don't remember. That was part of when I fell asleep the second time around. How'd the old lady die?
The dead lady reads her horoscope and drags her away. And
she gets sworded.
Stabs with all the swords.
Yeah, she gets sworded.
Yeah, the swords.
So she gets dragged away and then she appears with swords all over her. Why the fuck don't we get to see her get stabbed by 100 swords? Come on.
Yeah.
You at least could have made this movie a series of Mortal Kombat fatalities. Like, and you know, there's a reason why people still play those games. People still like that shit. So just have a movie of a bunch of Zodiac fatalities. Have an eyeball pop out. Do all the fucking crazy violent shit that people like. This movie made no fucking money. So yeah, it should have been rated R, and you might have actually made some money. Because you make a PG-13 horror movie because you're like, I just want in general people to go watch this movie, whatever. No one's watching this movie. There's no word of mouth to watch this movie. Give me 6 insanely violent deaths. Like I said, I'm fine with the way they killed all the people, just up the violence. Give me a reason to tell somebody to watch your fucking movie. Because as it stands, there's none. You might make your money back if people have a reason to watch it. I mean, this movie is mind-numbingly disjointed, shallow, and uninteresting. Like, what is this a 2002 horror film? You beat the final boss by giving her a card reading? Really? We're back at that shit again? You kill the big bad by doing the thing it did to you? That's where we're at? Again? That's what we're bringing back? That's how we're going to save cinema? That's how we're going to save movie theaters and get people to go watch shit again? Is bringing back 1999 bullshit? Of all the things, why is Sony going, you know what? We need to just look back 22 years. And let's just remake movies from that time. The early 2000s, the peak of Sony. Because that's what Madam Web was. That's what this is. Like, what ultimately is the difference between this movie and The Ring 2? When it comes down to it, what is the difference? I mean, The Ring 2, how do you beat Samara? You go into the well. Instead of her coming out of the well, you go into the well. That's how you beat the curse. Like I said, you do the final boss's thing back to it. What a time to be alive. If only I hadn't lived this already. Like, this is like, what was it, that water ghost movie? What was that with Jennifer Connelly? I'm a water ghost.
Dark water.
Yeah, wasn't the end of that movie just like to stop the water ghost you had to drown? Like, it's that. Like, what? Okay. Like,
Oh God, that movie. I watched it because Connolly was in it. So I was like, oh, Jennifer, it's going to be great. Then I was in there going, oh, Jennifer, this is not great.
like, what was how did White Noise end? They just put on some sound canceling headphones? Like, what was that? I don't remember the end of that movie either. What was the end of Cellular? They just pulled the batteries out of the phone? Like, what the fuck are these endings? Why are we going back to that shit? Like, can you honestly tell me, outside of the cast actually being current and they actually had smartphones, what is the difference between this and a 2002 just regular ass horror film? It's the same shit. Except they got smartphones and young people. Oh man. Did you watch the end of it? Like when it went into the credits a little bit, and that's when Ned was like, I escaped because my roommate came in or whatever. Like all that shit. And then she's like, yeah, fuck fate. Like, don't take offense to this, Heather, but she said fuck like you would. Like, it was the most unnatural somebody saying fuck I've ever heard. Like, it sounded like a second grader looking around to make sure nobody could hear them so they could say the word fuck for the first time. Like with their friends. You know what I mean? Like when you're all standing around with your friends, you're all, fuck. Everybody goes ape shit because you just said fuck. That's what this was, because this is the whole movie. She's like, yeah, it fuck fate. It was so edgy.
Another making a statement like, yeah, it's all about what we do, not what fate does. You know, it was supposed to pierce you in the heart, Sterling, make you go, you know what? I can do it.
I mean, what a profound
It's not
statement.
about destiny.
Like, oh, I'm mad at the thing that just killed 6 of my friends. Like, oh man, really put her through a conundrum there. Like a real moral battleground. But also, like, what was the bullshit of them, like, spectrally hearing her tarot card reading before they died? What the fuck was that?
Unnecessary.
The high priestess is going to make you stumble. I stumbled. What was the train guy? What was that one? That was the watcher or whatever, the lamplighter or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck that ghost was. And they were like, he's going to lead you down the wrong track. Train. And then that bullshit when they're talking about it afterwards, they're like, they found him in the dirt. He was an earth sign. The lamplighter was the wrong track. He got hit by a train. He's a Capricorn. He's a rule breaker. He was in the restricted section. What?
Because people are only defined by their signs in this movie. That's their only defining trait.
But also, what about Ladder Bitch? What sign was she? Was she a wood sign? Like, is that a thing in tarot? Or I don't know. Because she got killed by wood on a wood floor. Is there wood signs? I don't think there is.
Wood is of the earth. No, I have no idea. I don't even remember what her sign was. But it's probably something like that is what they're going to do.
Because it's air. It's air, water, fire, and earth, I think. Or the 3 types, because there's like 3 per one. Yeah, there's no wood sign. So, like, what is getting killed by a ladder? Like, what is getting killed by a noose? Like, you know, like, what's getting killed by a saw? Like, is that like a thing? No. What does that have to do with anything? They found him in the dirt. He's an earth sign.
Also, if I remember right, when she's saying that, she's like, his tarot reading said that, you know, he needed to not go down the wrong track. But then when she talked about the first girl, she was like, her reading said something about a ladder. Like, if I remember right, she was a lot more like sure about what the other one was than the first girl. Like, I don't know. I just remember that being very like, why did you even say anything about that if you didn't have something equally good for both? Like, I don't know.
I mean, like, and maybe I don't know anything about tarot, and it's not maybe I don't know anything about tarot. Who gives a fuck about that? But like, why was like, I don't know. Is it that common to get so many things in reverse? She's like, oh, that's a reverse devil card. Ooh, that's a reverse priestess card. That's a reverse jester card. Half everybody's shit was reversed. Is that what makes it bad? Like, why did it sound like she's playing a fucking game of Yu-Gi-Oh? I'm playing my reverse devil card. And like, why did sometimes shit matter and some didn't? Because she's like, you're a Capricorn. You're something with Saturn. She didn't mention a fucking planet with nobody else. But also Capricorn, it's Saturn. Why? That didn't fucking play anything. Did he get hit by a ring when he got hit by a fucking train? Who knows? Like, she's just randomly throwing shit. Oh, this is in your 4th house. Nobody else has a 4th house? The fuck? Like, why is, like, are you randomly throwing in information in some people's readings and not? It kind of makes it sound like maybe tarot's a bunch of bullshit. Because, like,
that mixed with the convenience of we need it to only be this way for the plot of our movie.
But even then,
Yeah.
it didn't make any sense. What does it being a Saturn planet fuck? I don't like what did that play into anything? Nothing. And there was that one guy, she's like, oh, justice is in your 4th house. Okay. Was there a court case in this fucking movie I missed? Like, what the fuck did that have to do with anything? It legitimately is like they went on YouTube and just went tarot bullshit and just wrote down lines that were said. Like, when she's doing all the fucking readings and she's like, you're having trouble in your love life. And he's like, man, quit saying this bullshit about us. And she's like, I'm not saying it about us. It's just what the cards say. Bitch, you know it sounds like you're talking about your relationship. Fucking stop. Like, do you have no common sense? Because it sounds like you're talking about your relationship. Granted, I've only known you as a couple that has been broke up. Because apparently they broke up 5 minutes before the movie started. But she's just saying a bunch of shit and everybody's like, oh no, that's just a card reading. I don't know why he would react like that. And one final thing. If you had a prized and potentially dangerous occult item collection, would you have that in your Airbnb with just a fucking padlock on it and a sign saying, please don't come in, guys? Like, really? That's what you're doing with your prized occult collection? Come on. What is that bullshit? And like, why did that house feel like it was like Hogwarts and just ever changing? Like, they would just run down a hallway, go, oh no, we got to turn back. And they would run down a different hallway, even though they just turned around. Like, there were just windows that were open up into other rooms. Like when the devil's coming through to take that guy, he was like coming from another room, but coming through the window. Like, where the fuck? Who has windows to other rooms in their house? What the fuck is going on here? Just, I really didn't like it, Jastin. Why'd you do this to me?
Oh man, I just thought maybe you'd have a little more fun
No,
with
you
it,
didn't.
Sterling. I
No,
just
you didn't.
thought maybe you did see it twice. So I think it made some sort of an impact on you.
Yeah, that's because I'm a fucking professional. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to try to remember what I'm talking about. I don't give a fuck if I slept through a third of it. I'm going to try. I tried. It's not my fault this movie sucks so hard I couldn't stay awake again. I tried. I was trying to do my job. Why this movie couldn't, give me the same basic courtesy back is what's bullshit.
I'm glad you fell asleep. I'm glad you didn't absorb all of it.
Oh God, me
in its
too.
entirety. You might have died from that.
Oh, I fucking needed that.
Tarot.
Just a perfect little nap to refresh me to fucking thrash it. Heather, what about you? What are some spoilery thoughts you had?
And that one of those last things you're saying too, it also reminded me of like the scene when Paxton is like running away from everyone because he's like, no, all of you are crazy. You don't know what you're talking about.
Who is Paxton?
Ned, the one who lives somehow. Yeah. He like, it was just funny because he was like, no, like you guys let me know when you guys get a grip on things, and just completely walks away and immediately, obviously is stalked by this fool or whatever. And then as he's in the elevator, he's calling and he's like, guys, I think they're reading my tarot. Like he just had no idea that was about to happen to him. Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, it's not even convincing that you would be thrown off by this. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know.
Well, and it's especially unbelievable because that was literally right after the same thing happened to his friend that just got hung.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even
Immediately.
It's not like that, they hadn't heard anything like, or anything like that, or actually seen it happen. They were just hearing the stories. And so like the whole reading of the tarot was like, oh no, like that's a new thing. You saw it happen with your friend. Like, you just witnessed how this goes down.
Exactly.
And it's not like this movie is creative enough to change the process between deaths. So, yeah, you should have been like, oh, this is exactly what I saw 30 minutes ago. It is what it is.
I mean, but it's also...
And in earlier scenes, he was buying into everything. He was one of the people that was like, oh, man, look at this coincidence. Look at that coincidence. Look at this happening. Man, this could really be true. He was one of the people that subscribed to this could really be happening to us. He was one of the first characters that wasn't skeptical about it. Then instantly he goes to, man, this is a bunch of BS. I'm getting out of here, guys. You guys handle this and I'm just going to walk away. Why would that be where you wind up that quickly? Especially if there's evidence that this is happening that you are aware of. It just made no sense. It was just like he had to do it because the scene needed him to be by himself, but it didn't make any sense for his character at that point.
Oh, yeah. That is 100% true. I didn't think about that, but that's a good point. Like, I don't know. It's also like the rapid pace too at which they just start dying. You know what I mean? It's like it's slowly just kind of like a one by one thing. Like one of the girls one day, the next day the guy, and then the following day it's like everyone else. Like it's so quickly picked up with like what was that choice? Because by the end of it, it's like, because they were doing one at a time being killed off by when their tarot was read to them. And then suddenly at the end, like all three are kind of happening at the same time, So it's just like, why? What was that choice? And also I hated that moment when the old lady who came to help them was like, we're not alone. And slowly at the most glacial pace turns her head to this lady for them to see her. And then is like, we don't have much time. Well, then like we wasted 5 minutes with you just showing us that she was there when you could have this could have been done by now. Like, what was that? And then she's immediately gone. The lady was kind of pointless. I mean, I guess technically she served the purpose of gave them, kind of more insight on what the tarot readings mean and whatever. But like, essentially she was there just to be there and then die just because they needed another death in the movie. That's really all it was. It's the same thing as like in the Exorcist Believer movie when they bring back the mom just to have her immediately out of the movie. I'm like, why? There's just don't even do it at that point. I don't know. I don't know. But I will say, I kind of alluded to this earlier. I don't know why, and maybe because nothing else about the movie was really that good or clever, I didn't mind their song choices. Like when he's in the elevator and they're playing Everybody Plays the Fool, that was kind of amusing. And then, the Paige, when she's about to get sawed in half, they're playing I Saw You. Like, I just thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was clever. You know what I mean? Like, that was probably some of the more creative choices they made in this movie. And that's not saying much, but maybe that's why that stood out more because there wasn't a whole lot else that was doing anything, like, I don't know. But, and also like at the end there too, because it ends up with the two that were exes at the end. I think his name was Grant and his guy was, the devil, right? The devil was after him. And then at the end of this movie, you see all these demons coming for him and he is just surrounded by these demons, being taken away. Cut to a main girl whose name I don't remember right now. She's like not even done necessarily with like reading the tarot cards of the priestess lady. And somehow he's able to just come and rescue her from that, circle thing. Like, how did you get out of your demons that were about to take you into hell or whatever they were doing? Like it just cut to, and that's it. And I'm like, why? And how did you get out of that? Which is the same complaint about freaking Paxton. And it's like, yeah, the explanation of, well, I don't know, my roommate just came and, the fool was gone. Like, why is that the rule? That doesn't even make sense. It just, I don't get it. It just wasn't. And the thing is, I knew that because at first, I'll be honest, I kind of thought he was going to be one of the first to die just because of the character he was, like the stupid idiots a lot of times end up being the first to die. And I thought that was going to be him. And then when I realized it wasn't, was when they did his tarot reading and it said something like, you're going to come in handy for, you're going to become a good friend at a time in need, or whatever it was they said about him basically being there when they were going to need him most. Something to that effect is what they said about him. And I'm like, oh, so he's probably actually going to like save everybody in the end, or he's going to do something where it's like, oh, he's going to still be alive because they need him to like do something that's going to distract and get them out of there. And that's it wasn't quite that, but it just became like, oh, the two that survived were just on a dark road and he found them. And that was how he got him out of whatever trouble, by them not having to walk 5 more miles or whatever it was. And it's like, I knew that it was coming, that something was going to happen where he was the hero in a sense, in some way. But and that's why I was like, I don't think he's dead. Like, I don't think he's dead. But the explanation for why he's not dead is just not worth it. And he might as well have just been dead. And it would have probably been better. Give me something other than just, I don't know, man, my roommate just opened the elevator and fool was gone. Like, what? Why did that not happen for anybody else? Like, it doesn't make sense. I don't get it. So yeah, that was, and that's what I mean by it's just so easy to find even the littlest things that are wrong, because everything's wrong with this movie. Even when they're like sitting there like, oh, like, what does it say about tarot readings? And they're researching online and they find the old lady that's like wrote all the articles. They read half of that lady's article and decided it was their mission in life to find that lady to get help from her. Like half of an article. They're just like, oh, it looks like these top 4 articles are from her. Read half of the first one and said, we got to find her. Like, if you're going to do that, at least be like, okay, I've been looking at this lady's stuff online all day and she's got some really interesting things. It sounds like she's gone through something similar. She might be able to help us. That would have been a way better way to do that than just interesting. She says something about something we've heard. Let's go find her. I don't get it. And then like, yeah, that's where just every line that was being said on the like road trip to find her was unbearable at how scripted it was. That's not how friends talk to each other. That's not how friends act to each other, but you think it is. That's exactly what you said, Jastin. It's like somebody who thinks that they know the things that, teenagers would say is writing this movie. And one of the writers of this movie is actually in this movie, which I found out and the thing is, sadly, very sadly, I'm not even 100% sure who it was. It's somebody named Wells. I believe it was the female detective that was talking to them after the first death, or the first death they found out about. She wrote and directed this movie. And with somebody else. It was like a co-writer and director. But I'm just like, I don't understand. There was so much potential to write something like, it's like you got a little piece of what you think you should do with this, but then you didn't take it any further. And that was just frustrating, because that's why the movie's bad. Like, you're writing this script for people who they're cardboard. They're not actual people. And, and then they're like laughing at things that aren't even funny, just like, all the time in the car about everything. And I'm like, no. I think the only like genuine friend moment that I felt was real was like when they're leaving and like the girl's sad that she still has a picture of her ex-boyfriend on her phone. And the other girl's like, here, I'll take the picture instead. That was the only thing that I was like, that feels like it could have been a real thing. That moment. That's the only moment though in all of these friendships or communication between them that felt like genuine and real. So yeah, I don't know. It just, nothing clicked. Nothing resonated. None of the characters resonated because they also don't even give you anything. Like you said, they tell you what you should think about these characters based off of their tarot readings. And that's the only thing we get about them. And then we get some backstory to the main girl because they want you to care enough about her to say, oh, she relates to the priestess. And that's it, you know, and then that storyline's kind of done. Like they want you to feel for her and be emotionally attached to her. But the way that they write this, you don't feel that at all. And frankly, again, maybe that's why the girl who got sawed in half is the one I felt was better. Cause I'm like, I believed her emotion. She was destroyed when her girlfriend died. You know, she's like, I can't sleep alone. You know, she's being chased by the magician dude and she's just like terrified. Like that's, you know, way more believable to me than the main character was. So I don't know. It's just a whole mess of nothing.
Finish it up, asshole.
Hey, come on, man. I'm innocent. Not really. Yeah, I mean, everything that you guys are saying is just really on point. I mean, none of us are going to be wrong about all of the countless mistakes of this movie, but really just to harp on more of the writing, I just hate how she gave them these tarot readings. And why did these scenarios play out based on things like she tells the one girl, you like to climb the ladder of success. Well, that's a metaphor. So why did that? And she could have articulated that 100 different ways.
Did you see this movie? That ladder was not a metaphor, Jastin. That was a literal ladder.
Exactly. But it's like, but what makes it dumb to me is that the tarot reader could have interpreted that 100 different ways. She could have said, you like to be on top, or you like to climb there are so many other ways to say you like to be successful. So
what if she said you like to climb the mountain of success, and that woman walked out to her hallway and there's just a mountain there all of a sudden, like a mountain.
Yes, and there's a mountain, and she goes, I must climb it. I like success. I must climb it. You know what I mean? But I just feel like you probably could have gotten more innovative with how these deaths happen and also developed some of these characters if you weren't just taking, if it wasn't written like she needs to say ladder because we want this woman killed with a ladder. You know, that seemed to be the only aim. But if it was about this person who's kind of will do anything to be successful or kind of cutthroat, or she sacrifices others to climb her success or something, a scenario could have played out. The priestess could have made her make some sort of decision, and maybe the decision, because of the way she is, winds up killing her. You know, you could have done something interesting.
I just thought of something. Heather, you remember how you were like, how did Homeboy, like when he's fighting all those demons, like how did he like all of a sudden get away to come save her? Mm-hmm. Wasn't his tarot reading, hey, you're going to have to fight your demons to save somebody you love, or something like that?
Oh, yeah. True.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly why that specifically played out that way.
Okay. I guess that's fair. I forgot about that piece. It does say like, face your demons. Justice is in his fourth house or whatever. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And again, facing your demons again means that doesn't mean literal. That means your inner demons. That means the things inside of you and stuff like that. But we just had her say that so that literally he could fight these demons off literally and get to her, and I mean, it's just, to me, that is just the byproduct of lazy writing. You could have done something more interesting with these deaths and these people's personalities. You could have made it and it would have made it a little more unpredictable, I think, in the deaths. Or maybe we knew these people were going to die, but at least it might have been fun trying to discover how, if it was really based on like this person's personality and things like that. But because we needed her to say a specific thing, so then we could literally somehow give you the specific thing she said, I just hated that. Yeah. It just felt like shortcut, storytelling, lowest denominator,
Yeah, because even a little bit further to that point too, like if that's the case and he needed to face his demons, well, then let's see it. Let's see him fighting off the demons instead of just like, I'm being attacked. And then suddenly he's just out of it. Give us something. But yeah, because it almost feels like with what you're saying, Jastin, that it's like, no, what is the main girl's name? I cannot remember it. I don't know. But whatever her name is.
Card bitch.
Whatever her name is, but basically
was it
it's
Haley or Elise? Which one was
it's Elise. It's Elise. Haley was the birthday girl. Yeah.
That's right. Haley was
Elise. Yeah. So it's basically like whatever Elise.
How did birthday girl die?
The latter.
Okay. You gotta help me out. You guys are losing me. You keep saying people's names. The names do not matter in this movie. They could all be actor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for all I give a fuck. You gotta say how they die.
But also correction, it's the opposite. Haley is the main girl. Elise is the one that got the letter. I'm sorry. I just looked at their pictures and I was off. Sorry. But anyways, with what you're saying, it's almost like whatever Haley reads and interprets as their fate is really what happens. So that doesn't really, it's almost like the moral they're trying to tell doesn't really fit the scenario, because it's just like, oh, I kind of dabble in this. This is what I think it means or whatever. But then it's like whatever she said is exactly what happens,
Yeah. And so you didn't even do the fun thing. And then you just had no fun with this story. Everything was so straightforward. Like you said, what she says, it happens. You didn't even do anything fun where like maybe two people are Libras and they're different types of, but they're kind of on different spectrums of Libra. So how is this one going to die? Or how is this one going to die? Or maybe one dies and the other one doesn't, or maybe somehow because of how the interpretation worked out, one can help the other. You didn't do anything interesting with this shit at all. Everybody at this party just happens to have a different horoscope. So therefore everybody dies in a different way.
Yep.
Because no friendship groups ever have the same, ever has two Libras, two Sagittarius, whatever you're talking about, never happens. I mean, I'm thinking about my friends growing up, and there were always different horoscopes. They were always different. Nobody was ever the same. I've never met another Libra in my life. Let's just put it that way.
I do know this, that one of the things they do to like people that deal with astrology or all that stuff, like there's multiple levels of astrology. And it's like, so there's the in general stuff like, I'm a Capricorn. So it's like, oh yes, you're just such a Capricorn. I'm like, am I really? But they'll be like, well, but it also matters. Like they have to do what's called like a star chart. So they have to look at when you were born. what time of day it was, what type of this, like that. They have to do all these other things to add these other qualifiers so that if you're not quite a Capricorn in your personality, but you should be, they're like, oh yeah, but that's also because your rising sign is this and your setting sign is this and your, your favorite sign to fuck is this. Like they have to add in all these qualifiers to magically shape all of a sudden that your horoscope's correct. And like, that's one of the things that, like with this, like, it's just like you said, Jastin, like nobody even has remotely the same birthday. Everybody's got a birthday 2 months apart. Like,
all of them.
Like, so, and I'm right on the cusp, right? So like, I'm technically the first day of Capricorn. So they're like, most people are like, well, yeah, but then there's also like the Sagittarius still influences you because it was only Capricorn season for like 5 hours before you were born, Sterling. So there's still some Sagittarius in you and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck does it? No, it's a bunch of nonsense. Like, it's just all of those things like that in this movie, like weirdly feeds into that, but also does so in a way that they're just like, but it is what it is. Like, you're a Libra, so that means this, but this card flipped this way is what means this for you. Like, I like how all the things are so vague when it's like, oh, this could do this, or this could lead you down the wrong path, or this could do that. And it's like, I got the death card, which either means death or the death of a phase.
I hated that where it was like, it could mean the end of something, the beginning of something, or it could just mean death. All right. Thanks for that.
Like, that is the most like cop out bullshit ever. It's why people makes fun of like horoscopes. It's almost like it's so vague, it could mean anything. Like, which means she should have gotten a different card because it would have been cooler if she got something else. Like, the flute player. I don't know any of these fucking things. Like, why is there 97 cards, but there's only like 5 things anybody ever gets? But like, why couldn't she have gotten like the flute player or whatever? And she's like, oh, that could mean like a sad funeral song or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So then it would have been cool that when she pulled the death card for what did they call it? It wasn't the priestess, Heather, because priestess was the first tarot card. It's the astrologer is what they called the special Hungarian lady. So that way, when she did the reading on her, it was death. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you actually would play, like, it's like in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, you played the fucking leg of Exodia, so you now had all 5 parts, so you win. Like, it would have been this whole thing, death. But, like, what if that just meant the beginning of the new haunting cycle for the astrologer now? You didn't kill her. You like, why did it mean instant death for her? But it meant just the death of you believing in fate. I guess, is that ultimately what the death card was for the main character? The death of her believing in fate. The death of her being broken up with her boyfriend.
It could be.
The death of her just having a friend group because they're all dead. She's only got 2 friends now.
Yes.
Also,
to all of it. All of it is yes.
Question. So Ladder Woman, right? It was her birthday, right? At the beginning of the movie, that was the character whose birthday it was, right?
Yeah.
So why, when her girlfriend called her, was the ringtone "Happy Birthday"? Because that would imply it's the girlfriend's birthday. Because why would you set your own ringtone to "Happy Birthday"? for that.
I had the same question, dude. I was like, wait a minute. Why is her phone? Yep, I had the same thought when it happened.
Like, is that something people do? I haven't had my phone not in silent mode. I don't know, in 15 years. So the idea of even having a ringtone blows my mind. But is that something that people do when they do have ringtones? Do they set it to happy birthday when it's their birthday? Is that like, is that just kind of that needy bitch syndrome of wanting everyone to know it's your birthday? Like you have no validation in your existence unless the whole world acknowledges the day you were born. So therefore you have to have happy birthday as your ringtone. So that way when you're sitting at a Dunkin' Donuts and somebody calls you, you're like, everybody's like, it's that girl's birthday. The fuck kind of psychosis is that?
Although somehow, and I don't know why, it works in Happy Death Day. Her ringtone always being that it's my birthday or whatever. Like that kind of works in that movie, but I don't know why. But in general, in any other case, I completely agree with you.
Wasn't that an alarm though? I didn't think it was a ringtone. I thought it was an alarm.
You're right. You're right. It is because it's what wakes her up every day. Yeah. Never mind. You're right.
Yeah. So it's like she had the alarm of, hey, it's your birthday. Like to wake her up on her birthday was that. That kind of makes some sense to me. I still think it's a little weird because it's a little too like 2004. I need to buy a soundbite for a ringtone. Remember when people used to do that?
Yep.
Like that's what it feels like. But, you know, I guess there's worse things. Like this movie.
Well, I think I'm tapped out, man. I don't have anything else. I mean, y'all covered everything else, but I just, the main thing I wanted to talk about was just that, just how incredibly lazy the writing was for everything. And it's funny, Sterling, how earlier you were like, man, I don't remember the names. All I remember them is by how they died. Well, it felt like that's the way it was written. This person has died by a ladder, so we base everything based on that. How do we get to this ladder so she can be killed? Okay, this person's going to die by hanging. How do we get to that rope? How do we get to the train? How do we, so we'll say something weird here. He'll have a weird reading like he's going to show up and help his friends. So how do we get to the scene where he shows up and help his friends? Like, that's how this was written. It was written not based on characters and personalities and things like that. It was just written based on what is the thing this character is supposed to do and how do we get there?
Well,
that was the main concern.
And he didn't even really come and help his friends. He ended up just giving them a ride. Like they could have also just ordered an Uber and had the same effect. Like
the time of need, Sterling, he showed up.
The one time they should have really, really leaned into dumb cliche bullshit should have been him running in at the end to save somebody. Like him running in and pulling guy from the demon tunnel. They should, that would have been something at least. Like it wouldn't have just been like hey guys, you need a ride. Like, what? Like, but I agree with you, Jastin. Like this movie was they thought of deaths or they thought of tarot readings, and they made the deaths for that, and then they wrote the characters to just be the vehicle to have horoscope read to them and then die that way. They had no other characteristics to them other than they were a receptacle, the vehicle, and the end. That's it. Like, even the most fleshed out character, which was Ned, was still that. Because the one defining characteristic he had was that he believed it and then stopped to run away, which made no sense. So he denied his own logic from fucking 15 minutes earlier because he saw it happen. So he went, maybe the crazy bullshit is real. Then he sees the crazy bullshit and goes, nah, crazy bullshit isn't real no more. Like, what? Is it the human thing to go, nah, crazy bullshit isn't real, sees crazy bullshit, then goes, fuck, crazy bullshit is real? Why did seeing something convince him it's not? It's all because the tarot reading of you're gonna leave at some point to watch some numbers rise so one door can open and another one can close or whatever. But also, that's not what happened. Because the way an elevator works is it's the same door. So literally, that door closed and that door opened. It wasn't another door opened. It's the same fucking door.
That's how much they didn't give a damn. They didn't give a damn about these metaphors or anything. They were just like, it's close enough. We'll do
unless they were talking
door.
about him like trying to get into that building, but I don't think they were clever enough to really be talking about that. But I mean, I also wonder too, like the whole scene when they're on the bridge in the car and then they like hear the alarm going off because of the things that are surrounding them. Like, I mean, I guess at the time their understanding was, oh, the next person is this girl who just ran out of the car. So like, why would there be a need for any of these little things running around to like be like around that car and like creeping them out? Because those specific things had one goal and one person to, you know, have a fate to kill or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, it was just the one thing. It was the hangman that was running around the car.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's right.
It was just the one thing. But like, why did seeing it stop the fool? Why did the fool stop because it was seen by someone else? Everyone saw the hangman. Everyone saw the demon. Everyone saw death. Everyone saw the magician. Everyone saw every other fucking death thing out there. Why the fuck did the fool being seen stop it?
Because we had to have Ned get back. We had to have Ned get back and help his friends, Sterling.
Plot armor. Yeah,
what did you not understand about that? So whatever happened,
I don't want to hear anybody
and tea together
ever complain about like the plot armor that Rey has in the Star Wars movies, because it is nothing to fucking God mode that fucking Ned has. Apparently, he has like it's not even plot armor; it's a plot cheat code. They straight up go, man, this level's hard. Let's type in that God mode real quick for Ned.
Yep. That Paxton plot armor, dude. That Paxton plot.
Who's Paxton?
Ned.
Oh, okay.
Same difference.
Guys,
I'm sorry. I know you have an issue with that, and I acknowledge that I should have minded your feelings before I made that statement.
I mean, there's Ned, there's Card Bitch, there's Guy That Lives. I don't know what other qualifier that fucker has. There's Saw Bitch, there's Ladder Bitch, there's Hang Bitch, there's Train Bitch. That's it. Oh, and there's Sword Bitch, the old lady. I'll take old lady or Sword Bitch. I don't know why y'all think that the names matter. They don't. It would not surprise me if some of the characters in this movie were called two different names at some point, because I don't think they even remembered that shit. because the character sure as fuck didn't. Because they weren't people. Like,
yeah, his name doesn't matter. You're right. I just used the name as a vehicle to get to my alliteration.
That's
which
fair.
Was the Paxton
That's
plot.
fair. I mean,
so I'm just doing what the movie. I'm learning from this film.
What about the Paxton plot protection?
There you go. A triple P for me.
I mean, is it almost offensive to call these things in this movie characters?
Yes.
Because they're not. They're not actually characters. Like, they aren't anything. They literally, I mean, because I don't know if I've ever come across a movie, like we've talked about in other things, like I love it when they just like throw you into a universe and it feels like you're like, 5 years behind because you're playing catch up because they've just been living and they're throwing you in on a Tuesday and you go, I guess I'm starting on Tuesday, and you go. These narrative devices that are in this movie, it's like their quote unquote characters start a minute after the movie starts and then just ends when the credit rolls. Like there's nothing else to their lives. Like they say there is. They're like, oh, we just broke up. Okay. Oh, we're secretly together, but everybody knows it, but we still don't acknowledge it, but we do, but we don't. Okay. Sure. Oh, I got a reservation. That conversation between Ladder Bitch and Saw Bitch when they're on the phone after they just spent the weekend together and they're just on the phone and she's like, what's up, wifey, or whatever. She's like, don't say that. And then she's just like, then Saw Bitch is just on the phone like, hey, I got us a reservation at that Thai place we wanted to eat at, and then we'll go to the concert. I have never thought that somebody was not going on a date more than that. Like, because it doesn't even sound like she was actually saying plans, because it's just Thai place, concert. Like, it's because they couldn't get any more like specific than that. Like, it wouldn't just be the Thai place. Like, this isn't a 1990s sitcom where you just had to use everything in generic terms. You'd be like, yeah, hey, I got us a reservation at, Thai Palace before we go see Beyonce or whatever. You know what I mean? That's how you would say it. You wouldn't say, hey, I got a reservation at that Thai place before the concert. Okay. Like, it's just, there's no thought or detail to anything because they're not characters. Oh, this movie. All right. Anything else? Or are we done? Can we finally put ourselves out of our own fucking misery?
Yes, please.
Forever.
Become the vehicle that takes this thing home.
I hope I'm not Ladder Bitch, because then that means I just die. Can I be Ned? So I'll start the outro and then I'll just go away for a little bit. And then I'll end it. So on that note, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. We are Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook. We're cinema_slayers on Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd. We are at Cinema Slayers Pod on TikTok and YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. Really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends, and most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
Paxton plot protection.
Ned. Got it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Ochoa for our theme song and logos, respectively. Remember, here at the Cinema Slayers podcast, we are pro slut, pro Sydney, and pro naked. We also have justice for Chris, justice for Todd, and justice for stunned people. Also, justice for me. Because Jastin made me watch this fucking movie. Like, twice. Where's my justice? I have to deal with the likes of monsters like Jastin making me watch Darrow.
The wheel spun, Sterling, and that was our fate. So,
Because you put it there, Jastin.
Wait, the first girl that died was a Libra, right?
yes.
So does it help you to know that in this movie, Jastin would have died first?
Yeah, and I didn't like that. That rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, oh, the Libra died first? Come on, dudes.
Well, the Capricorn died second. I would have died second.
Damn.
I would have died third. Pisces. I would have been hanged.
I would
We're
have been
all
trained.
different. Maybe the movie was right. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe this
We're
is
all
our fate,
different.
guys.
Yeah, this is our
This
fate.
is how we actually die.
But Justin, that means that you die first. That means all Mr. Healthy son of a bitch dies first.
But if it's by a ladder, that'd be pretty boss. Or would
Would
it?
it?
No, that'd probably be pretty bad.
Justin, you don't want to.
I guess the best one to be would be the train guy, huh?
Yeah.
He probably got
That's
it the
most-
easiest.
That's the quickest. But Justin,
Yeah, the least
you
the
don't want to
quickest.
die by ladder. You're a wrestler. You actually incur like ladders more than most people.
You're right. That would be a rough way to die. Maybe a steel chair. Just the priestess just beats me to death with the steel chair.
She just
That's
holds
how
it.
I'm
Just
gonna die. Yeah. See, I would have been cool character because instead of just a house and a ladder, the place would have became a wrestling ring, and I would have tried to wrestle her. I
You
would
would
have
have
probably
fought the
got a couple
priestess
of
in a
arm
ladder
drags
match.
in. Oh yeah, it could have been. Yep. And then would
It
have
would have
got
been
all
a
the way
better
to the
movie.
top of it. Yeah, would have got all the way to the top of it. She would have knocked me down. She would have grabbed the briefcase or whatever, and then just jumped off and just put it through my head.
and dude, when she was reading your tarot, she would have been like, "Yeah, you're gonna take some bumps and stuff like that." She would have just been using all kinds of wrestling terminology. Justin, what do you think is the greatest wrestling finisher move of all time? Non-submission.
Oh my God, that is so hard, bro. That is really tough. That is like a hard ass question. But you know what? I think one that has lasted so incredibly long has been the RKO, the Diamond Cutter, the Cutter. I think it was popular all the way through the 90s, and then it got repopularized by Randy kind of, well, I wouldn't say repopular, but still, he found a way to make it his own, and it's still popular. And now you see cutters all the time. So I don't know. I think it's got to be up there, right? Because of how long it's lasted, I think.
Isn't technically a cutter just a front face DDT?
Yeah, basically.
So what if the priestess killed you by doing a cutter to you off a ladder onto another ladder and just like snapped your neck or something?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be sick, dude.
That's why I asked what your favorite one, just so we could incorporate that into the death.
Gotcha. Yeah, that would be sick though. Just skadoosh. I'm dead.
Like you're reaching for it, and she just runs up the other side, grabs your face and jumps you, like grabs you over it onto another ladder and just cut her.
That would be sick.
Already a better movie.
Yep, already. And I'm just a fan. I'm the first death. Just imagine where we could go.
I mean,
you used to be a drummer, right? Imagine you getting drummed to death.
I just think you kind of just do like I said for the train. Just have me fall between the train and the other train. Like, so I'm just getting bounced around. And it'd almost be like a drum roll. There you go, Jastin. Because I'd be going like
blood splatter. You know, on the just, you know.
It'd be playing a jazz song and it's just like drum roll and it's just me bouncing between a train, just blood everywhere. They could incorporate my beard somehow. Like as I fall, my beard gets stuck into the train, so it's like dragging me and I'm getting like like ripped apart and shit.
That'd be cool. That'd be a pretty cool death for you.
How would you change your death, Heather?
I mean, I don't know. That's hard. Because, I mean, it's a hanging. So what would I be hanging by? Or what would be, like, choking me out? I don't know. I need help, guys. What would it be?
Well, if it was child Heather, it would definitely be those nugget logs, or what are they called that you love?
No nugget logs. No nugget logs.
Okay.
Because I've never heard anything more unappetizing than nugget logs. So it's on par with Burger King.
Choke on.
Get a Burger King nugget log.
On those Burger King nugget logs.
Just a string of them attached. Just I'm hanging by them. Yes.
They would just keep reappearing. Like you keep thinking that you ate them all, but then there'd be a new batch. So you'd have to keep eating them.
And that's why I'm like running across the bridge, trying to get away from them.
Yes. And they just keep coming. And you're just like, oh my gosh, what even is this? I don't know how Child Heather talks, but.
Like that, definitely.
Yeah, like, what even are these logs? And then they would just start.
I mean, I have about the same acting range as the people in this movie, so that's about right. What even is this?
Oh, man.
I don't remember where the fuck I was. I did that. It's just the outro now, right?
Yeah.
So,
New night.
Yeah, the outro. So as I always end the TikToks, the YouTube videos, and this podcast, just remember, according to Jastin, he's an asshole.
Justice for nugget logs. More people should eat them.
Somebody will listen to me. Nobody knows anything but you.
Oh, those BK nugget logs.
Are you ready? Yes. Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Also, apparently in tarot, the fourth house represents the end of life, including the grave and the rituals that surround it.
But she said that the tower was there and that was justice. So are you telling me the movie got its only conceit wrong?
I mean, maybe the justice meaning, fighting off his demons to save her.
I'm just saying,
Justice.
If that represents your death, why the fuck did she bring it up for anybody? Except for the one guy that didn't die.
True. Yeah.
Which makes it really hard to remember who his character is. Because I've got Ned and Card Bitch, and then that guy has just no defining characteristics because he didn't die.
Ex-boyfriend. That's it.
Just, a fucking kiddie pool is deeper than this fucking movie was. It's just so bad. Oh man. All right. I'm out of here.